At just 12, these two girls nearly took another classmate's life.
Prosecutors say she lured a classmate into the woods, nearly stabbing her to death to please a fictional character called Slenderman.
They stabbed her 19 times.
Back in 2014, the entire country was shaken by one of the most senseless and haunting crimes that it had ever seen. Three 12-year-old girls, friends, walked into the woods together, and only two of them walked out. The third, Peyton, she had been lured there under the guise of a sleepover, and then she was stabbed 19 times while her friends urged each other on, shouting disturbing phrases like, "Go ballistic." Miraculously, Peyton survived, but the horror wasn't only in what happened, but it was why it happened. Because when investigators asked the two girls responsible what drove them to do this, their explanation was so bizarre, so chilling, and so impossible to comprehend that it left the nation stunned. They claimed that they needed to kill to appease Slenderman, a fictional internet character. Now, in the years that followed, there were court hearings, psychiatric evaluations, emotional statements, and a very highly publicized sentencing. And despite a 40-year confinement order, one of the attackers, Morgan Geyser, the girl who stabbed Peyton 19 times, was released earlier this year to a supervised group home. It was a decision that completely divided the community and outraged so many who believed that she remained dangerous. And then, just this past weekend, on November 22nd, 2025, something unspeakable happened again. Morgan cut off her ankle monitor, walked away from the group home that she lived in, and vanished. Days later, she was captured, several states away, but what has come out in the aftermath is raising even more red flags. Who she was traveling with, how she managed to flee, what she had been doing behind closed doors while in the facility, such as disturbing drawings, writings, and conversations, including with a murder memorabilia collector. Things that all paint a picture far darker than anyone realized. A picture that suggests that Morgan Geyser may have never been ready for release, and that this case may go much deeper and be much more alarming than we ever even knew. I'm Annie Elise. This is 10 to Life. Let's jump right in. On May 31st, 2014, a guy named Greg was riding his bike down the bike path at David's Park in Wisconsin when he came across a horrifying sight. A 12-year-old who appeared to have multiple stab wounds. When he stumbled across this scene, this young girl was laying near the bike path and clearly, visibly injured, and just a horrible scene to witness. So Greg immediately calls 911. And what is so crazy about this case is Greg randomly took this path. He usually went on an entirely different path on his bike, but because he randomly chose to go this direction this day and then literally just jumped into action and acted so fast is what ultimately saved this 12-year-old's life. Because of him, she got the medical care that she needed and she survived. But who was this 12-year-old girl, and how did a 12-year-old end up on a bike path with multiple stab wounds all over her body? Take a listen to this 911 call.
911. Your emergency.
Waukesha County, Lynn, transfer over a caller on Big Bend. That's a dead end just south of Rivera.
Okay.
Came upon a 12-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Okay.
Sir, you still there?
Yes.
Hi, sir. So are you with this 12-year-old female?
Yes, she says she's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times.
Stabbed multiple times?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Are you with her right now?
Yes.
Is she awake?
She's awake.
Is she breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing. She said she can take shallow breaths. She's alert.
Okay, stay with her. We're sending the police department. Don't hang up, okay?
Very upsetting to listen to. Peyton Lutner is a 12-year-old girl who is described as just fun, hopeful, animal loving, just a joy to really be around. And Peyton also attended the local middle school in Wisconsin. She was excited to meet new friends, participate in school activities, and in the 4th grade, she became friends with a girl named Morgan Geyser. And Peyton had become friends with Morgan after noticing, actually, that Morgan didn't have that many friends. She noticed that Morgan was kind of lonely and was kind of always doing her own thing, and she felt bad for her. So she befriended her, and they ultimately ended up hitting it off. The two of them instantly became close friends, though it was said Morgan was apparently a little bit controlling sometimes. And a couple of years later, into this friendship, a new girl had started going to their middle school as well, and this was in the 6th grade, and her name was Anissa. And Morgan became close friends with Anissa, so the 3 of these friends began hanging out constantly. However, Morgan appeared to be closer to Anissa than Peyton was, and this often happens in groups of friends and girlfriends, especially when you're younger. You have a group of 3 friends, and 2 of them obviously have a little bit closer of a bond, and one ends up feeling left out. And it appears that's what was happening in this situation. Peyton was beginning to feel a little bit left out as the bond between Morgan and Anissa grew stronger. It's also thought that perhaps Anissa was a little bit jealous of Morgan and Peyton's friendship, and that may have been part of the reason why she tried to get this closer bond with Morgan, to try to, break them up. Well, on May 30th, the 3 girls ended up having a sleepover for Morgan's birthday. It was expected to be a sleepover just like any other typical 6th grade sleepover. The girls went roller skating at Skateland, they got frozen yogurt, they were just hanging out at Morgan's house before deciding that they were going to go to bed, which was a little bit earlier than usual. And that going to bed early part kind of sticks out as odd in this case, because usually Morgan wanted to stay up late, and the sleepover was at her house and for her birthday. However, she's the one who had the idea to go to sleep early. So nonetheless, the girls all settle in and hit the sack for an early night, with only Morgan and Anissa knowing what would be coming next. A plan that they had hatched to murder Peyton. And this plan had been in the works for 6 months. For 6 months, these 2 young 6th grade girls were plotting to kill their best friend. But why? Well, apparently, they were planning this to prove their worth to someone by the name of Slenderman. And now you guys probably are thinking, oh, I remember this case, but there's a few of them that had to do with Slenderman, which is bizarre in itself. So they were planning to commit this murder on Peyton because they wanted to prove their worth to Slenderman. And Slenderman is a person who is a fictional character. It's a made-up story about this really tall, creepy guy who's completely faceless and he wears suits all the time. Just a true, nightmare and scary story. And this Slenderman character also supposedly preyed on kids. He also apparently had a huge mansion, but in order to live in the mansion, girls or boys or whoever these kids were who wanted to join needed to somehow prove their worth to Slenderman. So in order to do that, they planned on killing Peyton, almost like a sacrificial offering of sorts, just beyond strange and beyond disturbing. But nonetheless, these 2 girls planned the murder of their friend as a means to please this fictional character. And this was a plan that they had talked about constantly with each other, so much so that they even talked about it in public. But when they would talk about it on the bus or other places in public, they would use code words. Now, Morgan's mom knew that Morgan liked Slenderman because apparently she herself was very into Stephen King novels when she was younger, when she was Morgan's age, and she figured, this was just a normal middle schooler thing. You're kind of fascinated with the darkness, you're fascinated with the mystery and the mystical almost, so she didn't really think too much of it. And she had absolutely no idea what was going on deep down or at all that something was actually being plotted that was extremely sinister. And as for Peyton, she did not believe in this Slenderman crap. It was not up her alley. She did not believe it. But because she was friends with Morgan and Anissa, she of course listened to them talk about Slenderman all the time. Obviously, she didn't hear them talk about this planned attack, but she did know that they were fascinated with this character. But she didn't think anything of it because, again, she just thought that it was what Morgan was into, that they were into this random, creepy guy. She was just trying to be a good friend and listen with no judgment. So Morgan and Anissa had been plotting for months and ultimately had planned this murder to be at that birthday sleepover. The plan was to wake up around 2 a.m., duct tape Peyton's mouth, and then stab her in the neck. And these girls went forward with that plan. They woke up, set their alarms, woke up at 2 a.m. However, when they woke up, they reportedly were too sleepy and went back to bed. Okay, a little too tired for murder. You're waking up, you're like, oh, no, maybe not today, maybe not now. It's 2 a.m. I need to roll back over. A little too tired for murder. Okay, yeah, I get it. Guys, I can't, wow, okay. So in the morning, all three of the girls wake up and they have donuts for breakfast and they're all hanging out. They start playing on electronics, they're playing games, they're playing dress up together, and really just, again, doing typical sleepover stuff. And while Peyton was getting dressed up in her dress up outfit in the bathroom, the girls quickly started hatching another plan. And the fact that these kids were playing a game as innocent as dress up, all while planning a murder at the same time, is just sickening and very, very unsettling. These are literal children that we're talking about here, guys. So Anissa and Morgan's next plan was to murder Peyton at the park. Usually Morgan was not allowed to go to the park alone, and she had to have an adult present with her. However, because it was her birthday, her mom decided to bend the rules a little bit and let the three girls go to the park together and have a good time, which was probably, in hindsight, the worst mistake the mom ever made. So the three friends arrive to David's park and they go into the bathroom at first. And the plan originally was to blitz attack Peyton while she was sitting on the toilet in the bathroom and kill her. And there was a drain in the bathroom that Anissa and Morgan thought could catch all of the blood from the stabbing. And it seems wild to me that a 12-year-old is capable of thinking this far into things. Not only thinking about murder itself, which is disturbing enough, but also thinking about the cleanup and how you're going to catch all the blood. So when the friends got into the bathroom, Anissa hit Peyton's head against the concrete wall. The plan now was to knock her out and then kill her, because the two friends had read that it's easier to kill someone when they're asleep and unconscious, and if you don't actually look the victims into the eye. However, when she hit Peyton's head, it didn't knock Peyton out. So the girls then moved on to the next thing. And the girls decided that they should play hide and seek outside in the park. But my question here is, why would Peyton stick around and continue to play a game with these girls outside after Anissa just hit her in the head? Was she desperate to fit in with these girls? Did she really not want to be left out, which just is heartbreaking to think about? So while they all go outside and prepare to play this game, Anissa pointed out to the woods to Morgan and told her that they could kill Peyton there. So the plan was for Anissa now to run after Peyton and tackle her, and then Morgan would handle the rest from there. But that is not actually what happened. The girls did end up tricking Peyton and getting her into the woods to play that game of hide and seek. Anissa told Peyton to lie on the ground and to cover herself with sticks and leaves to hide. So Peyton did that. And once Peyton did that, Anissa told Morgan, "Now, go ballistic, go crazy." Who says that? Who commands their friend and says, "Now, go ballistic, go crazy"? It is crazy, guys, the verbiage that they are using. It is just clearly there is no doubt, not remorse yet, but no reluctancy to actually not do this. Just saying, directing her, go ballistic, go crazy. So at that moment, Morgan actually jumped on top of Peyton and began stabbing her with a large kitchen knife. Morgan stabbed Peyton 19 times before getting off of her. Now, Peyton has maintained that her body must have been in complete shock because she says that she didn't even really feel the stabbings, which thank God. So after Morgan got off of her, Peyton was hysterically screaming in agony, trying to get up and trying to walk. The girls told her to lay down and that they would go and get help, which why would Peyton ever believe them? This was now the second time that her friends physically hurt her. So the two girls leave the scene with obviously no intention of returning to help. And incredibly, Peyton was able to muster up the strength to get up and walk out of the woods. She found a patch of grass near a bike path and then laid back down and collapsed. And at that point, she was obviously in agonizing pain with over 19 stab wounds. And that was at the same time when Greg came upon the scene and called 911. This episode of 10 to Life is brought to you by Wild Grain. And if you haven't tried them yet, this is the perfect time because their holiday items, they are so good. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, seasonal pastries, and fresh pastas. Plus, everything bakes in 25 minutes or less. It's honestly the easiest way to have bakery quality food at home without having to plan ahead. And what I love is that Wild Grain uses super simple ingredients and very slow fermentation, which means better flavor, easier digestion, and more nutrients and antioxidants than most store-bought options. And their boxes are totally customizable. They're always adding new seasonal items, and beyond their classic box, they also now have a gluten-free box and a plant-based box too. Some of the holiday standouts are the Tear and Share cranberry pecan rolls, the Parmesan herb biscuits, and the apple pie bites. I mean, all perfect for hosting, cozy brunches, gifting, whatever it is you want to do. And because it's all baked from frozen, you can pull something together last minute and still look like you planned it. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off your first box, plus free croissants in every box, all when you go to wildgrain.com/life30 to start your subscription. You heard me, free croissants in every single box and $30 off your first box at wildgrain.com/life30. That's wildgrain.com/life30 or just use promo code life30 at checkout. Now let's take a beat, and I just want to put this in perspective. Can you even imagine what kind of evil that truly takes to lure your friend out into the woods and to jump and attack them 19 times while your other friend is egging you on? Go ballistic. Do more, get her, get her. It is so scary to think about that there is this kind of rage, danger, and evil rooted in 12-year-old girls. But I suppose we have seen that happen before, not only with girls, but Aiden Fucci. Aiden Fucci was only 14 years old when he attacked 13-year-old Tristan Bailey, a classmate of his, and he stabbed her over 100 times with such force that the tip of the blade broke off into Tristan's skull. And it does seem, I just have to say this, it does seem that with advancements in social media, technology, the ability to go viral, I have certainly seen, in just my true crime coverage, a huge uptick in teen-on-teen violence. Whether it's because they want the notoriety that goes with it, they think that they're untouchable, whatever it is, there certainly in the last decade has been a big surge in this, and that is absolutely frightening to think about. So after Greg called 911, the paramedics and the authorities showed up, and Peyton was taken to the hospital, and then a full-scale investigation and search for the other girls was underway.
And you were biking by, and she says to you what?
Could you help me, please? I've been stabbed multiple times. I quick got out my cell phone. I was shaking.
He watches as the ambulance rushes her away.
And as all of this was happening, Peyton's parents were receiving the most devastating news and rushing to the hospital to be by Peyton's side. In an interview, Peyton's mom, Stacy, recalls the exact moment that she laid eyes on Peyton.
She was terrified. She was crying. She couldn't breathe.
But she saw you there.
She saw me, and she put her hand out, and I rushed over to her, and I put my arms around her, and I laid next to her, and I hugged her, and I said, "You're going to be okay. It's going to be fine." But I could see that she was covered. Her arms and her legs and her abdomen, they were covered in stab wounds.
Peyton was extremely close to death. The stab wound on her chest was so close to her heart that if it had just gone a millimeter deeper, she would have died.
Describe the moment you first see her. The surgeon who was there that day, when he was looking at the wounds, and in particular the stab wound to the chest, he told me that had it been the width of a human hair deeper, that stab wound, that she wouldn't be here today.
The knife stopped at the wall of the artery.
Had it not?
Had it not, she would have
had a major heart attack from the amount of bleeding and probably died within a minute or two.
Detective Michelle Tressoni was working the case and met with Peyton at the hospital. She was fearful that Peyton actually wasn't going to make it, and her main concern was just to gather as much information as absolutely possible. Because in case Peyton didn't live through this nightmare, she wanted to make sure and she wanted to confirm that she could hold these people accountable. Meanwhile, Morgan's mom and Anissa's parents were being notified of the incident that occurred. Morgan's mom, Angie, discusses her take on those events in an interview.
You know, the day the police came to our house, my son came downstairs. I was vacuuming downstairs. And my son came downstairs and he said, "Mommy, the police are at our house." And I assumed he meant they were like outside here for the neighbors. And he was like, no, they're in our house. And it's like, well, what? How? So I went upstairs and there's several officers and one of them had a big riot shield. But they wouldn't tell us what happened. They just told us, well, they asked if Morgan was home. And I said no, that she was at the park with her friends. And there was some confusion because my son wasn't aware that she had gone to the park. So he said Morgan was home. So, I mean, they were instantly, they thought I was lying. They thought I was, hiding her. And they asked to search the house and they searched the house. And of course she wasn't there. But they wouldn't tell me what had happened. They just told me that her friend was hurt, and she said that Morgan did it. And I mean, instantly, I couldn't even fathom how that could have happened. I mean, Morgan was she was just always such a gentle and kind person. She was a vegetarian because she didn't want to hurt animals. But yeah, they wouldn't tell us what was going on the entire day. They didn't tell us what was going on, and we were sort of made to be under the impression that that Morgan was missing and she was in danger too. Yeah, and they didn't know where Morgan was.
What also is sick and disturbing is a mutilated Barbie doll was found, among other items, during the search at Morgan's house. During the search for the girls, Anissa's mom found Anissa's phone as well. And on the phone, there was a text note from 3 days earlier that stated, "This is my final wish to those who care. Do not grieve my absence, but remember me for who I was. I love and cherish you, and I wouldn't do you harm." Now that obviously heightened the search efforts and the panic, because now there's a concern for a possible unaliving, as that's what that note felt like. But the part of that note that says "wouldn't do you harm," that part is especially chilling, considering it was just written a few days earlier before she participated in an attempted murder. After a 5-hour search, the girls were finally located and they were sitting on the side of the highway. They were brought into the police station with blood all over their clothes. And the knife that they used was in Anissa's backpack. The interrogation literally gives me chills every single time I watch it.
Your parents know that you're here talking to me, okay? And I'm glad they're so glad that you're safe.
I did notice she had a blood stain on the front of her shirt, and she was wearing 2 shirts. And I asked her, are you okay?
Can you just stand up and kind of stand? There you go, just like...
Right there.
Okay, let's...
And it's on the white shirt underneath that.
And it's on the shirt underneath it, too? Okay. What is your name?
Elisa Ware.
Elisa, okay.
Morgan seemed like she was very calm, very relaxed. I mean, she's at a police department and she's covered in blood. And this is like a normal day for her.
All right, he's going to help us out. We're going to take some photographs of you right now. Okay. Do you mind just standing up, baby? All right, just stand up like that. Perfect. What is your name again? Morgan. Morgan. All right.
Do you know what happened to Bella?
Morgan called Peyton by the name of Bella.
She said there was a nickname because there was another girl named Peyton.
Is she dead?
I don't know. She wants to take her to the hospital.
What? I was just wondering.
She was very nonchalant. It didn't seem like it really concerned her too much if she was dead or alive.
I still don't know what happened, and I don't know who did what, and I need to know that today. Okay?
We didn't know what these girls were going to tell us.
What were you trying to do with her when you stabbed her?
Kill her. I might as well just say it. We were trying to kill her.
So why did you pick Peyton?
I didn't pick her.
Who picked her?
Whoever Anissa was talking about. She made it seem necessary.
My thought was, why would she do this?
There's this website full of like horror stories, and there's one of them called Slenderman.
Who the heck is Slenderman?
We had to prove ourselves worthy to Slender.
The fact that these girls are just so nonchalant about stabbing their friend is completely mind-boggling. And so obviously at the end of these interrogations, they were not sent home. There is no way they were going home. They were both charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide. And then, when Morgan's locker was searched at school, they found a list of supplies that was needed, as well as very, very creepy drawings. Now, whether or not you think there was any true remorse and any accountability in terms of them realizing that Slenderman was just a fictional character, that this wasn't real, that's for you to decide. Personally, I have my own thoughts on that. I did back when I first recorded this episode. I still do today. And given what we now know about Morgan and her behavior while in the care facility, it just makes me think evil is evil is evil. And don't worry, we will get to that in a bit here. For 3 years following their arrest, both girls went through mental health treatments, diagnoses, and court dates. In 2015, the judge ruled that the girls were not eligible for juvenile court, and he actually allowed the cameras to come in and capture pictures for the very first time since they had been arrested. Both Morgan and Anissa looked extremely different just a year later. Morgan was diagnosed with schizophrenia, which apparently runs in her father's family, and her father is diagnosed with that as well. She was also diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. In January 2016, she was sent to a psychiatric hospital. Morgan's mother, Angie, did an interview in regards to Morgan's mental health just a couple of months later.
Well, that's such a big part of parenting in general, is that you're always second-guessing yourself and in your job. Your job as a mother is to protect your child from bad things happening to them. And yeah, I felt like I failed. Yeah. How didn't I know? How didn't I know that she was sick? Yeah. Even though I know, looking back, that she was, she was doing well in school, and she had friends. She didn't have a lot of friends, but she always had a handful of close friends. There were some things that we dismissed as, well, she was going through puberty right before she left. She got her period right before she was arrested. So there were some things that we dismissed as maybe typical teenage girl behavior that weren't. Yeah. And that, knowing what I know now, maybe there was something we would have looked into more at the time. But I don't think that there were any glaring, obvious clues that she was ill. Yeah. Again, there were no overt symptoms, and even though she reports now having symptoms as young as 3. Well, the way that she explains it is that because it was always like that for her, she just assumed that that's the way it was for everyone. Yeah. She did make a conscious effort to hide her symptoms from us. I think part of that was because her hallucinations were friends. They were friendly for the most part, and she didn't want them to go away. I'll ask her, why didn't you ever tell me about this? And she says, because you would have done something. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, of course I would have done something. The one thing that bothers me that's been so inaccurately reported about Morgan, and it even came up in court, is that she refused medication. It's 100% not true. She never refused treatment or medication.
It was never offered to her, probably?
Exactly. You can't refuse something that's not being offered to you. And the statement that so many, news sources have reported on, it's just not true. Okay. She never refused treatment. It bothers me because it was even listed as one of the reasons for denying her the reverse waiver. Yeah. That she refused treatment. Well, that's not true. She made a statement to her doctors that she didn't want to take medication because she didn't want to go she didn't want her friends to go away, but that's not refusing treatment. No, that's completely different. She's been nothing but compliant with her treatment, and even acknowledges how much it's helping her.
Anissa, too, was diagnosed with PTSD, major depression, and personality disorder, as well as delusional disorder. Now, what are the odds that these two girls with this extensive medical history and diagnosis met each other and became friends? What are the odds of that happening? It just feels like it was a recipe for tragedy from the beginning. In August 2016, Morgan entered a plea of not guilty by reason of mental disorder. 2 doctors were then ordered to evaluate her. And Angie did another update on Morgan in March of 2017.
Nearly 3 years have passed since the so-called Slenderman stabbing attack on a Waukesha 6th grader by her 2 classmates. In some ways, it is a distant memory, but suspect Morgan Geyser's mom says it's not because of the time that's passed.
When Morgan remembers the incident, it's like remembering something that someone else did. She wasn't in control of her brain at the time of the event. And she said that it's like remembering someone else's memories.
Morgan was diagnosed with schizophrenia a few months after the assault. Her mom, Angie, is convinced the illness was responsible for the stabbing of Morgan's friend, Peyton Leitner.
That wasn't Morgan who did that. This wouldn't have happened if not for Morgan's untreated mental illness.
It never occurred to you that she was dangerous?
No, of course not. No, I mean, if we had any indication that Morgan had a serious mental illness, we would have gotten her treatment sooner. But unfortunately, no, we didn't know until after the incident.
Angie Geyser later learned that disturbing drawings were found hidden in Morgan's room and tells me she's asked Morgan why she hid them.
Her standard answer when I ask her why she didn't tell us about things is because we would have done something about it. So, why didn't you tell us you were afraid of Slenderman? Because you would have done something about it. Why didn't you tell us you were hearing voices? Because you would have done something about it.
The Geysers shared these recent photos of Morgan at the Secure State Mental Hospital, where they visit several times a week. They had to fight to get her placed there after she spiraled in juvenile detention.
She deteriorated pretty seriously, and she self-harmed and ended up on suicide watch.
Morgan is now a patient in the state mental facility after spending the first year and a half in juvenile detention with no medication for her by then diagnosed schizophrenia.
We sit at a table together and we talk, and sometimes she brings a game for us to play. She'll bring artwork or writing that she's been working on, and she'll show that to me. This is Morgan's most recent report card. As you can see, she got straight A's. And she's aware of everything that she's missing out on. She misses her old life. She misses her friends. She misses Peyton.
Does she ever talk about Slenderman or anything like that?
No, that doesn't come up.
Angie Geyser reveals she's had absolutely no contact with the victim, Peyton, or her parents since the day of the attack.
If you could say anything to them, I mean, you must have thought about that many times, what you might say. And
I'm so sorry for what she went through. I'm so sorry for what Peyton went through. I would want them to know that Morgan is sorry too. Morgan has a lot of remorse for what happened.
Her October trial will determine if Morgan's mental illness was responsible for the attack. Her mom can only hope the jury will find mental health treatment is more fitting than prison.
I wouldn't be afraid to have her in our home. My goal is the same today as it was on day one, and that's to bring my daughter home.
In September of 2017, she pled guilty but not to be held liable, and she was sentenced for up to 40 years in a mental hospital. And in January of 2017, Anissa's parents did an interview with Good Morning America about their daughter, but also about a documentary deal that they were given by HBO. When it comes to dog food, it always feels like you're forced to choose. You can have something fresh and healthy or something to store and serve, but never both. But with Sundays, you actually can have both. And this has been a game changer for us and for little Freckles. Sunday is fresh, air-dried dog food that is made from clean ingredients, and the recipes are customized based on what your dog needs. Size, breed, allergies, activity level, all of it. And unlike other fresh dog foods, Sunday does not require thawing, refrigeration, or prep. You literally just pour and serve. It was created by Dr. Tori Waxman, a veterinarian who devoted her whole career to animal health, and the quality standouts are huge. If it's not 100% all-natural meat and superfoods with 0% synthetic nutrients or artificial ingredients, then it's not Sundays. Every order ships right to your door, and you can cancel or pause deliveries anytime with their 14-day money-back guarantee. And honestly, Freckles has loved this. He's picky, but with Sundays, he has more energy, softer fur, less itching, and way better digestion, all which we noticed really quickly. Thousands of dog parents have already made the switch, reporting pups with more energy, better moods, softer coats, fewer eye boogers, and better stools, as gross as that is, but honestly, it's a win, and we've seen the same with Freckles. So make the switch to Sundays. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/10tolife and get 50% off your first order, or you can use code 10tolife at checkout. That's 50% off your first order at sundaysfordogs.com/10tolife. sundaysfordogs.com/10tolife, or use code 10tolife at checkout.
Bill and Christy join us now. Thank you for being with us. And Bill, I want to begin with you because I want to ask, what was that moment like when you found out what had happened and your daughter's involvement in it?
It was really kind of surreal from the time I got the phone call to the time that we realized there were more things going on than what we were initially led to believe. Yeah, I think surreal is the best way to describe it, because you try to struggle with how are you processing what you're finding out about what your child is
capable of,
being suspected of.
Right. And Christy, I know that when you watch the interrogation videos, both your daughter and the other young girl seem to believe that Slenderman is real, that there was no difference between fact and fiction for them.
During the interview tapes that we've seen, they thoroughly believed that Slenderman was real, and they wanted to prove that he was real. And
you had no indication of this at home, that this was like something that she was obsessed with or couldn't stop watching?
We've never seen her watch videos or read stories or, hey, look what I found on the internet or anything. She was just typical.
She was a typical 12-year-old at that point? You didn't think she had any of these?
Compared to the other three children, she didn't show any other signs of disbeliefs or anything.
No suspension from reality. Why did you decide to do this documentary? Did you want to warn other parents?
We were approached by HBO to do a documentary on the brain development of a human child, a juvenile child. And when we were approached in such a manner that it made us comfortable that if we could not help our daughter in this case, we might be able to help somebody else.
I know, Bill, your daughter, as we said, was 12 at the time of this crime. I understand you don't think she should be tried as an adult. Why shouldn't she?
But I think the laws themselves in the state of Wisconsin are outdated. As my memory has it, these laws were changed in the 90s to where a juvenile at the age of 10 could be tried as an adult. If you look at the way the laws are now, the law has not advanced with the technology, and it has not advanced with what we now know about juvenile brain development. What I know about juvenile brain development, I just learned through the documentary. But if you look at the law in 2015, I believe it was, Wisconsin updated laws on drone usage because they had not advanced with the technology, and Wisconsin updated laws on cell phone usage for certain offenses because they had not advanced.
So you'd like to see them do the same when it comes to child brain development. Your daughter's 15 now.
Yes.
Has she expressed remorse?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I know that you all have never spoken to Peyton and her family yet. Is there anything that you'd like to say to them now?
If they were here face to face, I would tell them I'm sorry. I tell them that I'm thankful that Peyton survived. And I would tell them that for as much as they are struggling with trying to process this and what happened to their daughter, we are struggling equally trying to process this with what happened not only to their daughter, but to our daughter.
And Christy, I know that you've been able to visit. Are you able to talk to your daughter about what happened and why it happened?
Every time we visit her, it's always being audio and video recorded, so we never talk business kind of thing. Sometimes she tries to vent a little bit during our visits, and most of the conversation is stuff that's already been revealed in court. So we feel comfortable enough trying to console her and help her with how she feels that day and everything. And along with Peyton, if I could say anything, I know on the day of the incident, she stated that she thought Morgan was her friend. Yeah. So every day, I pray that Peyton finds true friendship.
In August 2017, Anissa pled guilty to a lesser charge of attempted second-degree homicide as a party to a crime with the use of a deadly weapon. She went to trial for the purpose of whether or not she could have been held criminally liable for the crime, given her mental state at the time. And during the trial, it shocked quite a few people, but she was found not guilty by a jury team of 12 for reasons of mental disease at the time of the crime. In December of 2017, she was sentenced to up to 25 years in a mental facility. While Peyton's family wasn't happy with these plea deals, they were okay with it because it did spare Peyton the obligation of testifying in court and reliving that trauma. Because after the attack, Peyton was understandably completely shook. She would sleep with a pair of broken scissors under her pillow, and she wouldn't talk to anybody but her mom for months. At the time of these plea deals, Peyton was also still struggling with her scars and the look of her body because her surgeries that she had to have added 6 more scars in addition to those stab wounds, making the total number of scars 25. And that is a lot for anyone, let alone a teenage girl, to deal with as you're trying to get comfortable and trying to get familiar with your body and trying to build confidence. That is a lot to deal with. Peyton also would check the windows and doors every single night out of complete fear. So her family's decision to accept these plea deals and, swallow it and understand that this was what it had to be was solely to spare Peyton from any added trauma of testifying and reliving this. Both girls' sentences were given no minimums. It was solely based on when doctors believed that they had had enough treatment. So in January of 2019, Morgan and her attorney filed an appeal, arguing that decision to try her as an adult. And the argument was that at just 12 years old, she was not able to understand her rights and what rights she gave up when speaking to a detective alone. Now, I have a problem with that because you're trying to say at 12 years old she didn't understand her rights, but she understood how to plan and plot a murder. She understood how to try to get away with murder and clean up with the drain in the park bathroom. I mean, who cares? Give me a break. Give me a break. So obviously that appeal was denied in August of 2020, but they ended up then filing it with the Supreme Court just a month later in September of 2020. Her petition ended up ultimately being denied in January 2021. So she's going to remain in a mental facility either for up to 40 years or until the doctors choose to clear her. Now, here's the thing about Morgan going to this psychiatric facility. I don't know a whole lot about mental health, but what I do know is some of the behavior that she still was exhibiting was extremely alarming. For example, she would send very dark and disturbing drawings to a murder memorabilia collector. One source even describes one of these drawings as a decapitated body. And it wasn't just drawings, as if that's not disturbing enough, but she also would allegedly send romantic postcards to this man. As far as Anissa goes, she petitioned back in March of 2021 to be released, and in her petition, she stated that by petitioning the court for conditional release, she is not saying that she is done with her treatment. Instead, she's saying that she has exhausted all the resources available to her at the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. And she says, if I'm supposed to become a productive member of society, I need to be part of society. So she was released in September of 2021 with conditions, but these conditions are pretty strict. She is conditioned to live with her father. She cannot leave the county without permission. She cannot go near Peyton's home or David's park. Her internet usage will be monitored. She can't have any social media, and she must continue her mental health treatment and her medication. She also has to participate in a minimum of 20 hours per week of structured and social activities. Lastly, she is not allowed to contact Peyton until at least 2039. So while the prosecution did fight the petition in general, the judge ultimately decided to give her this heavily monitored release. When this all happened in September of 2021, Peyton's family attorney said that Peyton and the family were disappointed with this decision, but also that they felt comfortable with the number of restrictions that were being put on Anissa. The attorney also gave a brief update on Peyton, saying she has excelled through all of this. She's also on the recent high honor roll at her college, and that she works at a Wisconsin company when she's not going to school full-time. And he also says that Peyton has bought her first used car, really just bouncing back from this horrific incident and continuing to live her life. So on January 9th, 2025, a judge ordered the now 22-year-old girl Morgan Geyser, otherwise known as the Slenderman stabber, in the true crime world, the judge granted a conditional release from her treatment at the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. Now, her doctors, for right now, of the current day, stated that she, quote, continues to exhibit symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, also anxiety and autism. But they clarified that she has shown no signs of any suicidal ideation since her 2021 attempt, because she had attempted to take her own life a couple years into her stay and sentence. Now, since June of 2022, Morgan and her legal team have filed 4 petitions for her release. The first 2 were withdrawn after the doctor's reports essentially showed, that she was not ready, and the third, in April of 2024, was also denied, stating that she still potentially presented a threat to the public. And then, of course, now this 4th petition, it was actually granted. 3 different psychologists who worked closely with Morgan at the treatment facility all spoke in favor of her release, stating she had made immense progress. Take a listen.
Correct. And again, that risk management part is a prediction of what she's likely to face, but her institutional stability, her acceptance of rules, her willingness to accept feedback, that all bodes well for her compliance with conditional release.
To be clear, your ultimate conclusion is that you are in support of her petition for conditional release.
Yes.
One doctor informed the court that Morgan had been taken off of her antipsychotic medications in early 2023, and since then had not had any symptoms. Another argued that if she remained contained and began to lose all hope of ever becoming a functioning part of society again, she, quote, may become more dangerous. Now, my first thought when hearing that was, how can they say she isn't a danger to society, but also say that if she reaches a low point, she could become even more dangerous? I mean, sounds kind of contradictory, right? I don't know. It just worries me. And I think, too, after 3 petitions where they say over and over again, you're not ready, can you then learn how to fake being ready so that the 4th petition goes through? Something about this just does not sit right with me. So the county circuit judge, Michael Boren, stated that her crime was, quote, a brutal, terrible offense, but ultimately felt like she has since grown up. He also stated that in order for her to be truly rehabilitated, she needs to exist as a part of society. So the judge's final order was for the State Department of Health Services to set up a plan for her to be in a group home. Can you imagine what Peyton and her family must have been feeling in those moments, hearing that Morgan was going to be released? Honestly, as a parent, it would be my absolute worst nightmare. The holidays are hectic. Family drama, last-minute shopping, late nights, it can feel like an endurance test. And that's why I am sharing the ultimate holiday survival plan, CBD from CB Distillery. Seriously, they have everything that you need to get through the season. Stuff mom's stocking with CBD for better sleep, gift your fitness friends a pain relief stick for post-workout soreness, and don't forget a little holiday calm for yourself and all that too. And every CB Distillery product is made with clean, premium ingredients. No fillers, nothing artificial, and with over 2 million customers and a 100% money-back guarantee, it's a gift that you can feel good about giving. For me, the sleep products are the go-to. They are perfect for gifting, and everyone in my life is, in their I could use more sleep era right now, so it's perfect. But this year, give yourself and everyone on your list the gift of better sleep, less stress, and pain relief with CBD from CB Distillery. And with my promo code 10TOLIFE, you can save 25% off your entire purchase. Visit CB cbdistillery.com and enter code 10tolife for 25% off. That's cbdistillery.com, code 10tolife. cbdistillery.com. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. So I know that that was a lot, but earlier this year, there were already concerns about whether Morgan was ready to live in the community or not. Officials testified that she had been exchanging very disturbing drawings and also messages with a very particular older man, someone who sold murder memorabilia. She eventually asked for a no-contact order. However, the content of those communications certainly raised enough red flags that her supervision team openly questioned whether she should be released at all. Some of these drawings reportedly were of decapitated people, very dark, very disturbing drawings. There were romantic postcards exchanged, things like that. Now, on top of all of that, multiple group homes refused to take Morgan, and the release plan had to be reworked several different times before a judge finally did approve it. But after being released for just a short period of time, on Saturday, November 22nd, Morgan cut off her ankle monitor and she left the group home. Now, what happened next unfolded across multiple state lines, but Morgan was found in Illinois with a 42-year-old friend who later told reporters that she just didn't want Morgan to be alone after she walked out of this group home. That's why she went with her. Now, really quickly, before I continue, I do want to talk about how Morgan and this 42-year-old friend allegedly met. First and foremost, this friend's name, their legal name, is Chad. However, they go by Charlie as well, and that's what Morgan refers to them as. And they met a few months ago at church. I also will say that the police refer to Chad as a he, but they were identified as transgender and have been called a she by Morgan, also going by Charlie. So to err on the side of caution, I'm just going to use the pronoun they because I've been unable to get a clear report in all of the different sources out there whether Chad, Charlie identifies as male, female, they. It's a little bit unclear. But for whatever reason, they met at this church, like I said, a few months ago, and Chad Charlie would often visit Morgan at the group home. However, the group home was going to revoke visitation for unknown reasons, things that have not been made public yet. And Morgan expressed how unfair she felt this was. Not only how unfair she thought it was, but she told Chad Charlie how unfairly she was being treated at this group home. And of course, how upset she was that they were not going to be allowed to visit her anymore. Morgan also stated that on multiple occasions, Chad Charlie visited her at this group home by climbing up to her window and sneaking in. Now, according to Chad Charlie, after Morgan was found by the police, Morgan was crying, saying to them, "They'll take away our visitation. Charlie, please, you're my best friend." Chad Charlie also said Morgan made it clear that if they didn't go with her, whether or not she was still going, that she was not going to go back to jail. They then further went on to say, quote, "And I know what that means. At the end of the day, I followed what I thought was right, and I stand by that." Now, I don't know what the dynamic of their relationship was, but I will say, I find it a little bit unsettling, a little more than unsettling, that this 22-year-old girl and this 42-year-old person created such a close bond with each other and so reliant on one another that she felt the need to flee this group home strictly because their visitation was going to be revoked. And again, why it was going to be revoked, we don't exactly know yet. Was there some sort of weird dynamic? Was there weird behavior? Were there concerns? I mean, you don't just get visitation revoked for no reason, right? Ultimately, police in Illinois ended up responding to a call about two people loitering behind a truck stop, and that's when they found the two of them sleeping on the sidewalk. Officers say both Morgan and her friend initially gave false names. Morgan reportedly also told them that she did not want to identify herself at all because she had, quote, done something really bad. She just told them, you can Google me if you really want to know who I am.
Please let her go.
Then give them your name.
I did something wrong.
What did you do
She doesn't
wrong?
know what I did.
Okay, that's fine. I ain't.
Let me talk to you again.
What is it that you did wrong?
I did something really wrong.
What?
47 and Cicero.
What did you do wrong?
47 roll by 500
It's not that.
Charlie X-ray
Nothing. It can't be that serious.
Charlie X-ray 3727.
What was it? And what is your name? What's happening? We don't want problems with you, okay? We just need to ID you. That's it. What did you do wrong? What?
She doesn't know my real name.
Okay. Well, give him your real name. Don't tell him.
What's your last name? Why? Why can't you give me information? What's wrong with that? So he says he just can't give me his information.
Okay, so it's segment custody.
MORGANGEYSER.
G-U, what is it?
GEYSER. I promise she did not know.
G-E-Y-S.
ER.
And then what's your date of birth?
May 16th, 2002.
So Morgan is your first name, right?
Yes.
G-E-Y-S-E-R.
No.
Let me say goodbye, please.
Okay, we will.
I will never see her again.
Yeah, you will.
No, I won't.
Why?
Because I did something bad. Let me say goodbye.
We will let you say goodbye, but just stand by until we figure out what's going on. Okay?
You
I promise. I'll let you say goodbye.
No matter what I did?
Yeah, no matter. That's my word, okay? Okay? You're being honest with me.
I'm being honest. That's my name. Trust me, I didn't want to give it to you.
Okay.
You'll see why in a second. But she didn't know my name. She didn't know my name. Not my name. Didn't call it.
I have no battery.
Huh? Hold on. What is it?
May 16th.
Is that your real name? It didn't come back.
That's my real name.
What's your middle initial?
E.
E?
Trust me.
Is that your real birthday?
Yes, May 16th, 2002.
You got E as that Edward? No. Okay, middle initial.
I'm giving a 59 Romeo, so what about 119
You can put him in.
E, right?
Yeah, E.
314.
Park Avenue as well. Always in this 10-8 situation, so.
I didn't know, I'm sorry.
Number 314, Morgan E. Geyser, criminal record.
Go ahead and put your hands in.
You said I could say
I will
goodbye.
let you. You guys going to the same place, okay?
I promise you didn't know.
Okay.
You're at home. Yeah, no problem. Number 511.
We'll get you warm, okay? Have you ate? Have you ate anything?
After that, she finally gave her real name, and officers confirmed that she was the missing Wisconsin escapee. Her friend was also charged with obstructing identity for lying to police, but she was released shortly after. She told CBS Chicago that the two of them had taken a bus from Madison to Chicago. Then they walked roughly 20 miles south toward Posen, Illinois, before Morgan injured her foot. But get this. As all of this was going on, meanwhile, Wisconsin authorities apparently didn't even realize that Morgan was missing for almost 12 hours. The Department of Corrections got an alert on Saturday night that her ankle monitor had malfunctioned, and when they contacted the group home a couple of hours after that, staff told them that Morgan wasn't there and that she had removed the monitor altogether. So Morgan had only been living in that group home because she was conditionally released from the Winnebago Mental Health Institute earlier this year. This, again, after experts had testified that she had made progress in treatment following the 7 years of inpatient care that she had received. But now, after being arrested nearly 200 miles away, it begs the question, should she have ever been released to begin with? At the time of this recording, she's currently awaiting extradition. Now, her 42-year-old friend that was also found with Morgan, she said that the police told her that Morgan would likely be sent back to Winnebago once she is returned to Wisconsin, so sent back to that mental health facility. But is that the answer? Is that just? I would think that this person is clearly a danger and doesn't follow the rules. Maybe now it's prison time. Maybe now it's time to actually get locked up. As of now, Morgan's entire situation is in limbo, and after more than 24 hours on the run, prosecutors and mental health officials will have to decide whether she is going to go back to that secure facility, face new charges, or undergo a whole new round of evaluations. And with her release already extremely controversial from the start, the fallout from this escape, I mean, it's just the beginning. So I'm going to keep watching closely as every single update comes in because this is wild. I think that, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I think evil is evil is evil. And I understand that there might be a mental health element at play here, and I'm not trying to negate that. But I also think that when somebody shows you who they are or what they're capable of, you either have to believe them or you do not grant them release. Whether it's prison that she belongs in or a mental health facility and a psychiatric care facility for the rest of her life, one of those two, in my opinion, is where she belongs and needs to be placed forever. She clearly should not have ever been let out because she had the audacity and the thought to cut off her ankle monitor and go on the run across state lines. Then, even when caught, refused to cooperate with authorities and give her name because she knew, and in her own words, she had done something really bad. So if she has the capacity mentally to know that her actions are bad, it kind of takes you right back to the beginning of this case and what she did with Anissa to Peyton, right? You know actions are bad. You clearly know right from wrong. You just said it as police found you. So do you really belong in the psychiatric facility or do you belong in prison? I don't know. I have my opinions, but I'm curious to know what all of you listening and or watching think about this case. Should she now go to prison and face new charges, or does she belong in the mental health facility? Let me know. Thank you so much for hearing Peyton's story today, and this is a wild one. I will definitely keep you updated. Until the next one, please take care of yourselves and stay safe.